Team building and team performance, a serious topic, but really fun to develop. I am Patrick Magyar, and today my guest is Emily van Rappard, one of the world's foremost experts on managing virtual meetings. Hello, Emily. Nice to meet you on our podcast session today. Emily, I actually need to introduce you a little bit because it is fascinating how I got to know you. You have an agency that actually helps people getting social on digital media. Explain to us, what exactly are you doing?
Our agency focuses on improving the contact between people, even if it's in an online setting. So we're very much focused on providing that contact and supporting it. That means taking away the technical barriers, but also means supporting interactions, etc.
You are coming, but originally out of the real HR world with real big company, right?
Yes, I come from on a background of KLM, where I worked on marketing strategy and especially also on internal communications and culture, company culture. And that has brought forward the need to bring more cohesion and to really, that is hard work to bring people together, and meetings are an excellent way to do so.
Well, that's exactly been my issue for so long, and I said in the chat I had with Almas Albukairov, the CEO of Spatial Chat, that his was actually the first platform where I had this feeling of a kind of a social presence. I'm having a very hard time, with these square pictures that you can't move, etc. What's your experience in this regard?
I think the type of platform, the proximity-based platforms like Spatial Chat, are definitely the way to go because they allow people to move freely and engage where and how they want to engage. And I think the traditional ruling platforms like Zoom and Teams, they're very square indeed. And as a moderator, you have powers to move people and to tell them where they now need to go, rather than invite people to go where they feel they contribute most. And I think that is an excellent part of Spatial.
So do you believe we're getting to somewhere the digital world replacing the real world, or will it always just be a complement?
I think the two will live together more. I see an in-between world. You've got the real blocky online world saying it's a video call and we exchange information and it's very instrumental. There's the real world that will be more and more about engaging and creating in groups. And then there's this in-between world where collaboration and participation are still very high, but where the freedom and the liberty to move will still be there. And I think that kind of space could be Spatial Chat, for example.
I am very enthused about this whole system, because we were able to bring in our tool that helps with cohesion, that helps with getting people together, and so I'm quite fascinated by it.
By the
Spatial Chat tool, yes.
Yeah, I think what people still need to learn is how that virtual world works, and how you can use it to your benefit, and how you can actually make it even better than live meetings sometimes, because you can guide people to the next phase when they're ready. And I think the way that you have used Spatial Chat is very much about that. You use the combination of collaboration, but also being guided by technology to make a next step in your thinking process. So congratulations on that. Really
thank you. That's very kind. But then tell me, Emily, do you think, is there a difference in the efficiency of on-site and online teams? Is there a difference in the efficacy, so in reaching the goals? Or do you think it's just, well, it's an easier part to make people work from home or from other countries? So where do you see the advantages and disadvantages going forward?
I think we've looked a lot at this. When do you need to be on site? When do you need to be online? And there is not one rule. I think anything can be done in any environment, online or on site. The key elements to keep into consideration to think when should I be on site or online are about the emotional complexity of a topic. The higher the emotional complexity, the more you'd want to be person in person so that you can, well, put a hand on someone's shoulder, literally. And the second part is the complexity of a topic and the explosion, the possibilities of explosions, because they also can be managed more easily in person, maybe. But that touches on the emotional complexity. For me, the emotional complexity is the key driver to decide channel.
Interestingly enough, when we built our tool initially for on-site, I was told by everybody, but you need to have a coach, etc. And I had a little bit a different view. My experience is that whenever a team developed a performance out of its own energy, it lasted not only much longer than it was with the energy of a support of a coach, but especially you never had that typical gap, that opens up really wide when a good coach, not only bad ones, but also good coaches leaving. Actually, the energy gap becomes even bigger. What's your experience on that?
I strongly believe in self-steering teams. And I think also very good coaches ought to be facilitating change rather than leading it. So I think that any group has it in itself to grow and improve. And that by unleashing that power, you do the best possible for that group, even if it's for that group to decide that after all, they should not work together at all, which is also a very good conclusion. But unleashing the power of a group and a team and just creating the space to do so, that is actually the crucial role.
Unleashing the power of the team and creating the space to do so. Fantastic. This should be this should actually be our slogan. It's exactly what we are about. And this is, by the way, why we have also our strengths approach. My view is always unleashing the power is like igniting a fire. It's not filling up the bucket on one hand, but it is also, it needs to be a positive ignition. And my experience is always the moment you start having, you have like 90% of positive, and then you come up with this one negative element, and like all the energy goes in that one. And I feel personally that online people shut down more. They, like you said, this emotional complexity. If you see each other, you can kind of still yell at each other. It's very difficult to yell at your computer somehow, even if you see the face. So what's your perception there of the online versus the on-site world?
Well, yelling, I've seen people yell. It doesn't work as well. For example, Zoom has this mechanism that it actually evens out noise. So the effect is just Excellent. Way less. I think online has disciplined us way better than offline dialogue has, because it does not work to all talk at the same time, and it would still work in an on-site environment. So some of the dialogues, when moderated well and when thought through well, work better online because everyone gets the chance to speak and be heard. And if I may add, you just mentioned how you focus on the positive energy. I think it's not just because online would facilitate that better. I actually think that the power of following where your passion and your energy is so much better than the strengths that you may have as a person. So that's what I really appreciated in your program, how you actually follow what has passion and energy way more than what is a quality, because the qualities, they will divide themselves, and the stuff no one wants to do will probably end up with someone doing it okay. But to follow where you really want to go is the essence of direction.
See, that's exactly where I think that sometimes on-site world might actually be sometimes a bit easier because somebody gets a bad conscience and just moves ahead with it. But my experience is that indeed online, it's very easy to kind of, I have a little issue. I shut off my camera, I shut off my microphone, and I basically don't stand up to a discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's true. My husband's a teacher, and all his students, however well educated they are, so many of them have webcam issues. No, I think standing up for what you believe in is way easier, and it's more attractive, and thus will be more present in an online setting, for sure. And I think what also makes a difference is that if you could actually physically move towards what appeals to you in an online setting, that also makes a difference. So it's different if you're a square saying, oh, I like that, or or something, or you vote and put down your thumb, or you literally move towards something and say, I'm attached to this. And I think the virtual setting that you have chosen does support that better.
We were speaking of strengths and weaknesses before. Actually, I have a pretty strong opinion. In individuals, you kind of sometimes need to work on weaknesses because otherwise they just prevent you from doing something. But with regards to a team, I've only ever led teams that were world class when I really focused just on the strengths of the people coming together.
Totally. That is a brilliant example of the Dutch hockey players, the ladies team. When they started focusing just on what they were good at and not saying, well, you're not the fastest, so you have to run more to get faster, but rather say, you're the strongest, so let's focus on your strength and your power. Then that team actually moved up a whole league. And I strongly believe in that.
For everybody that would ever listen to us, just to be clear, when you speak of hockey as a Dutch, you speak of lawn hockey and not of ice hockey, which like the rest of the world except India would.
Yeah.
I think it's Germany, the Netherlands and India are always playing for the title, right?
More or less, yeah.
More or less.
The UK sometimes joins, Australia.
And for those who have never tried it out, it's a really strenuous, it's a really hard sport. You need to run a lot. It's very exhausting. Speaking of exhausting, you have worked in both worlds, and I know that you moved from the physical to the digital work more. What do you believe is more exhausting, sitting in front of the computer and have a meeting, or having a meeting in person?
It totally depends on the meeting. What is exhausting are badly prepared meetings. What is exhausting is sitting in a meeting and not being involved at all, or not having to contribute at all. A well-organized meeting is great online and offline.
So I think this would be perfect to end our little podcast because we were exceptionally well prepared. We decided on a flash to do it together, and I think it worked very well. Thank you very much for your insights, Emily, and we'll continue working together.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you for listening to our Mission Team podcast. Do not forget to register for the next episode and visit us on mission-team.com.